Hello everyone, this is Mr. Larryman here, and today I have a replay sent in by Exodus. This is a late night game. I'm not sure if it was in-house or not, but it was a game that Exodus was in with plenty of the more experienced players in the community. And as you can see, we have JMS Slayer, we have a Toby, we have Exodus himself in this lobby. We can also see that Explosive was chatting. So without further ado, let's start this replay. This late night in-house or in-house equivalent. Starting us off, we have Evil actually going in for a double on LoTR. Explosive is going to be here to respawn, and Toby runs in from the back looking to take out Kamul, but Kamul recalls out in time. Mootlor might be going down here, but Evil is also fighting back against Franduel. I think if Witch King got a charge off, he would have been able to get Franduel, but not quite enough. Toby overextending a little bit with Franduel there, almost losing him, but in the end, Evil doesn't lose anything, Good doesn't lose anything either. Pretty good control on both sides. That Kamul was preemptively recalled out, which was a very good call for Terrior. He isn't exactly the most experienced player. Most people don't really consider him as such, but as you can see, he can definitely hold his own against experienced players like Toby Legend. John is also on Cardinal this game, and our Misty Mountains is Exodus himself. Toby recalls out. This gives Exodus a opening to attack Elven King's Halls. Toby is just going for Karn Doom with Lazy Turtle, going for the double on Terrior. They might be going for the inexperienced player on the Evil team, looking to get a relatively easy kill, or so they think. But as we can see, Terrior isn't a terrible player, at least hero control wise, although he isn't actually defending Karn Doom that actively here, which is a bit of a mistake. Toby goes in for the rather greedy recall into the spawn, and Exodus, instead of going for E-Halls, is just clearing out the outer Londire cannons. Terrior is not actually rushing in to defend. Finally he does, but Toby has already gotten a ton of damage on Karn Doom, so maybe his hero control might not be the worst, but some of his game sense might just be that of a more inexperienced player, not really defending Karn Doom effectively here, letting Elves get that for free. Although, to be fair, Exodus also did not do the most in that time, which is kind of unfortunate. I think Elven King's Halls definitely would have been a free clear had Exodus gone for it. Unless, of course, Toby recalls back, which shouldn't have happened. JMS tries to go in for the dive on Sean's arm. In the end, he chooses to not risk Khan's life. I think if he stayed there, he would have gotten the arm, but maybe at the cost of the Khan of the Ring Riders. In the end, JMS does not actually take the risk. And now Toby is going for the Northern Ended Wife cannons, as Cold Fells is bought early by JMS. It is a 4-minute, 40-second Cold Fells. Not bad, not bad. Let's see if those Cold Trolls come in clutch for JMS Slayer. Now, this does mean that he will probably have to forego Nazgul. That being said, though, Explosive hasn't really been doing a ton of progress on Wayne Rider encampment. Meanwhile, though, Lazy Turtle is going up for Karn Doom, and again, Terrior sitting really far back without his R back Karn Doom either. This should really just give Lazy Turtle an opening to finish out the spawn. Terrior being a little bit sedentary here, not really responding in time to a lot of these attacks. Terrior instead going in for the double on Western Gondor, just trading Karn Doom like that. In some cases, trading out Karn Doom isn't the worst play, but Karn Doom wasn't really gone for anything. Exodus almost gets team killed by Terrior there, which his melees do accidentally push Great Goblin into Explosive's ball. Luckily, Exodus does have the foresight to recall out Great Goblin, and Terrior does say sorry. He does acknowledge the mistake, which is good on him. Terrior just dives through all of these cannons, which isn't the worst play considering that these cannons are relatively not that dense. Forces the recall on an explosive. The Lord of Kinnagellan is also quite low here. Witch King does have 2 charges up, but he is only on 500 HPs, and with Toby running in, Evil will have to recall out. JMS Slayer going in for just the right click on LoTR. I'm not really sure if this is the real right play because you take a ton of damage. As Aimbar, you can actually do that because of all the splash damage that you get on the cannons. You kill the cannons in the same time as the spawn. But in Evil Min's case, there's no real contesting of the cannons, and the cannons can just do a lot of uncontested targeting. Luckily for GMS, though, he does actually grab the spawn, so it was still probably the right play to go for the spawn directly. Just a little bit risky, and it did seem that Toby was there targeting, but JMS, with good reaction times, doesn't lose any heroes, takes out the spawn in a pretty clean manner. Toby comes back to the E-Halls. Exodus still hasn't actually taken it out. Just going for the rotates on Western Gondor. Now, Evil has been focusing Explosive quite a lot this game at this point, especially with an attack on Amon Laha at the same time. But Explosive still hasn't lost any spawns, and now Lazy Turtle has moved his Arbiter over here to contest. But, Carping might be going down there. Oh, a misclick on the Witch King chart and a misrecall on Witch King. Very unfortunate for Witch King. I think Argoleb could have gone down as well there. Lazy Turtle mistakenly loaded Argoleb into our lifeboat and floated him directly over all of the Ymar mass. That was just a very botched engagement by Terrior, and not entirely his fault. A bit of bad luck, I suppose. Taking out the lifeboat at the very least there would have been quite a nice boon there, even if he still missed the charge on Carfane. Buzzer Doom being gassed for Toby. He has gotten the Mithril Mining. Orphank also on half HP here. Courier is not out yet, nor is the first gas even started. So Explosive might be foregoing Courier this game. And in the end, Terrior now in a significantly weakened spot with Witch King dead. This is never really a situation you want to be in as Aymar. Quite unfortunate for him. Though he is just continuing to rotate down here. After all, he has moved away his Dol Guldur Arb to facilitate these rotates. But Lefnui isn't even dead yet. Amon Laha isn't even dead yet. Maybe Orphank soon, but none of Explosive spawns have actually gone down. Now, Terrior is going to get this Lefnui kill uncontested at the very least for Evil. Lazy Turtle not actually responding, instead opting to try and trade out Lefnui for Graham. And Terrior, with his arm so far back, is probably not going to be able to contest this push very fast. He is going to let Lazy do a bit of uncontested pushing while he has to rotate over. And even in his state, I don't know if he can actually contest Lazy Turtle directly. Maybe if Lazy loses a bunch of HP on his heroes, but that's a bit of a risky play. Lifeboat might be going down here, but no, Terrior does not opt to chase. Jindor does come out for Terrior. If Elven King's Halls finally goes down with Toby not defending it for whatever reason. I think he might have been typing, or he was setting up for a rotate onto Zarek Doom. Golfing Bull might be going down here, and he buys the spawn on top of Golfing Bull, but Golfing Bull doesn't actually die. Instead, it looks like it's going to not even be Kamul either. Toby botching those hero kills. Should have gotten at least Golfing Bull. But he was pulling back Galadriel. Galadriel down to 300 HP. Esteban might have done her in, maybe. Actually, no, not quite, with 300 HP. But it would have been close. Lazy Turtle now pushing with Toby onto just the direct Aymar Plains area. Exodus actually has the little splat on his missile turrets. I've never actually noticed that. It's pretty cool. Gamma Slayer pushing around the Western Rudar area. He is gassing Eastern Rudar after he has gotten those snow trolls out. And Lazy Turtle is now clearing out the cannons for a drop. Meanwhile, Dol Guldur does go down. The MS Slayer clearing out the path from Western Rudar to Fornos. Evil might be going for a clear of Fornos from the bottom this game, if I am reading this correctly, we'll see. Or DMS Slayer is actually just going for Numinos directly. After all, the Numinos turrets are pretty sparse, all things considered. You have to be very careful with the Chieftain Dunland, though, and yep, Lazy Turtle comes in, and DMS Slayer does not even try to contest that. There's not really a reason to, anyways. Explosive finally goes in for Wayne Rider Encampment. What could have been a Nazgul Deny in a different game. Looks like JMS Slayer is actually going to get his Nazgul despite going for Cold Fells first. Yep, there we go. We have Korra Hill on Evil Mint. That's not actually a terrible Naz. Carrier now going for Zarak Doom, uncontested. Zarak Doom still has 2 minutes left on the Mithril Mining, so Toby or Lazy has to actually come and defend this if they want the Dwarf build to succeed. All too often, you really see Zarak Doom being bought offensively, but then dying very easily because goods don't really have the resources to defend it. They're too overextended. Lazy Turtle does spot the JMS Slayer ARB coming in, so he is going to be able to chase this push away, it would seem. Unless he does lose something to JMS Slayer, but he does not. Meanwhile, Terrier comes in again, trying to go for Zarak Doom again, but Toby's ARB is in the area. He is paying attention. And if Terrier is not careful, he might be losing Golden Bull here, but he just recalls out preemptively. Meanwhile, Exodus can go for some Mirkwood attacks while Toby is away. Toby runs in Celeborn, but the blink goes off. He does not lose Celeborn. I think a focus on Thranduil might have been the better play there. Celeborn, if Elves has hands, is not really the best hero to target because of his blink. Unless you know it's off CD, you generally don't really want to bother with it. I think in the same engagement, Thranduil could have gone down. I think it was about the same distance away from Misty Mountain's Hero Ball as was a Celeborn. And with Mirkwood's cannons all cleared out, he's not even going to bother. Toby has to be a little bit careful here. He is losing a lot of HP on his heroes, and this might give Terrier the opening to finish off Zarak Doom. His special transport is also only on 150 HP, now healing, of course, which makes it a lot harder for him as well. Oh, Jendur misses the recall and gets eliminated for Terrier. Terrier is really just not seeing any respite from the good focus, bleeding heroes left and right. I mean, I say that, it's only been 2 heroes, but it's also only the 16-minute mark, which is not ideal. JMS Slayer was not actually going for the Fornos bottom clear, although that is still open up. He was actually going for Anemonas, like I said. And, okay, Terrier ran out of mana on his special transport. That's why he did not end up recalling. Celeborn 1 cannon away from dying. Toby accidentally running him in a little bit too far. If he went into range of the fortifications here, I think it would have been GG for him. Meanwhile, Exodus just in the area, clearing out the Tower of Amon Sul now. Really, the rotates on explosive kind of fizzled out early game, and Evil was not really able to get the value that they really would have liked from that spawn. Meanwhile, Lazy Turtle in the area to try and respond to one of Exodus's pushes. Not really sure if this is going to work out for Exodus now that he is here. Zarak Doom is going to go down here, but Mithril Mining already came out. So, yep, Mithril Crafting has been queued up on Cause of Doom. JMS Slayer actually just going for the straight-up dive, but he is going to lose Hualder for it. The shield was not off CD. I think JMS Slayer might have expected the shield to be available there to make up for the dive, but it was not. Unfortunate for him. That's a lot of the northern buys locked off for him now, but Lazy Turtle is also quite strong in this game. Meanwhile, though, Eastern Elves mostly dead. It's just Cause of Doom, and Cause of Doom is now kind of exposed for Misty Mountain. So Exodus can definitely just pin down Toby to the east at Cause of Doom if he really wants to. Juicy Acid Bomb on the Lazy Turtle Hero Ball as well. Something about Galadriel there over on this ramp. Interesting. And Exodus runs in from the back, will chase away Lazy Turtle. And if Evil clears out these cannons over here, that means Good loses their little defensive position here. They will actually also force the Arbiter to run away. And Toby runs his Arbiter into the Exodus Hero Ball. That might be the turnaround move for Good. Now, Toby cannot actually rotate around anymore. And Toby's rotates were a key part of the Good game plan here. Now, Gondor might be exposed. Cardalin is exposed. Exodus just really has a free reign now that Toby cannot really respond to him. Either that or Toby rebuys his Arbiter, which is still an option. He has 4,200 minerals after all. Gaffa also coming out Scaffa on its 3rd gas, soon to be 4th. Ernir actually does die to JMS Slayer. A bit of a late recall, mayhaps, or a bit of a surprise. Mount Graham is going to go down for Lazy Turtle as well. Terrier might be getting Malvagil if Lazy Turtle doesn't pay attention, but he is paying attention, turns around with the rest of his ball, chases away Terrier. Smog Aura bonus? I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean. X is clearing out Rovanian, this airfield settlement of Magladden. Teleborn is half HP, but otherwise Toby isn't doing too bad in terms of hero HP. Exodus, although not really that banged up, chooses to run away from this spawn. Given that there is a ball defending it, it would have been a very inefficient push, and the mass probably would have been better used elsewhere. Cardolin's inner spawns are quite vulnerable right now. If Evil takes this opportunity, they might be able to just take out Londire and Erenvorn. But with Amar planes so exposed, Terrier probably can't really join in on any pushes. Exodus, Terrier, and JMS Slayer still have orbs in the south of the map, though. Tharbad does get bought, which opens up the very clean Austin heal kill. Also, Teleborn dies to Exodus in the east. Explosive does run in now, so Exodus is probably going to want to run away from these 2 balls now. But actually, no, he decides to run in on Azrahill while Toby is presumably typing. Franduel in the front, you gotta be a little bit careful. Franduel is very squishy here. Runes of Austin and Heal are being poked down slowly by Korahill's Bile. And yep, that's that cannon going down. John doing his best to deal some amount of damage, but he has to be very careful. JMS Slayer, although down, Hualder still has 4 heroes. Lazy Turtle recalls in to respond to the Terrier recall. Really, Explosive alone probably would have been able to handle that. Lazy might have been able to get some pushing in that time. Nonetheless, Lazy decides to recall back. X is continuing to just push Gladden. He might be wanting to deny Frumgar, but with 2 heroes, or 2 hero balls here to defend, I don't think that's really that likely. And now Lazy Turtle going back in for Graham, but Terrier is here to respond. Despite having lost Jindor, he still has 3 heroes, which is all around not terrible, still a respectable amount of power. But he actually recalls out here to go to... Is this a Goblin? Not Goblin Town. Is this a Barrow Downs push? Mayhaps. Or maybe a Austin and Heal push. After all, Austin and Heal hasn't actually gone down yet. John is here to defend, but the mass differential is just a bit too much for Sean to deal with. Runes of Austin and Heal are going to go down now. Finally, and the Disfortification only on 40 HP, that would be a bit of free money for Evil. But regardless, now Amar Plains is fully opened up, so Terrier can't really afford to rotate around anymore at all. Meanwhile, Gundabad is being dropped by Toby. Is Exodus's Arb in the area? No, because it's actually, I think, resting at Scaffa. So Exodus has to be very careful with the Mount Gundabad spawn. But Terrier is here to respond now, so that should be the end of this push. They have to be very closely paying attention to these 2 areas now, though. Really, the big Chad move here would be to go for high peaks, because Mount Gundabad, I don't think it's been upgraded much at all. Although I might be wrong on that. High Pass is bought, though, so... Actually, no, it's a max Goblin Town and max Scaffa build, so really buying Twin Peaks here would be the play, I would say. Just making Gundabad irrelevant for good. Although, dropping the spawn on Amar would still be quite bad, and losing Amar for Terrier means he's basically out of the game mass-wise. Unless he maybe rebuys in the form of maybe Mirkwood. Khazad-dûm is being pushed here, but that is made very difficult by the Mithril Mine, the Dwarven Fortifications. These are quite beefy, not to mention just the mass increase that Elves has in the form of dwarves. But actually, Khazad-dûm hasn't been gassed once this game, so the Mithril mining isn't actually that significant for Toby. He's actually maxed Buzzradûm first before Khazad-dûm. These cannons by Austin Hill have been finally cleared out by Evilman as well. And meanwhile, Tharbad is actually being upgraded, which is quite interesting. Eastern Rudar not being upgraded because Explosive is about to kill it, and the JMS Slayer might not want Hill Trolls in his ball, which is kind of a weird one. Tharbad, it looks like he's not going to get the first gas on Tharbad, although it might be wrong. Sean has actually called off his push. If he gets the first upgrade off, he will get an extra Archer at End and Wife once it dies, which all in all isn't that significant. I don't know why he's not upgrading Drew Wife Yower at this point, to be honest. JMS Slayer should be a little bit careful of these mines, but overall, this should be a pretty free last bridge cleared by JMS Slayer. Taking a lot of cannon shots on the Chief Nadellin, though, he has to be a little bit careful. And, ooh, if he runs forward any more, he might be tanking all of these mine shots. Explosive runs a special transport through JMS Slayer's ball, loses a ARB for free. That's actually really bad. Both of Good's carry factions now are on only one Arbiter. Meanwhile, Exodus taking out Pin of Galen for free. Explosive can't really do anything to respond. Where is his Arbiter? I think, yeah, now Lazy Turtle is the only carry faction on Good with 2 Arbiters. Cardlin is still a thing with 2 Arbiters, but they don't really have carry potential the same way as something like Arphidane. First gas is going to be protected on Tharbad as well with this rotate into defend by JMS Slayer. He is going to get that 1 Archer constellation. I would really advise against going for the second gas when Drew of Yower is still alive, though. Northern Edenwife does get bot. And Tharbad occupied is going to be pushed by 2 hero balls on Good at once. JMS Slayer trying to defend, but Core Hill is very low here, and with these force field coming in, Tharbad is going to go down. Overall, I'm not really that sure if that 1 gas on the spawn was worthwhile. Meanwhile, Drew of Yower is being focused down by Explosive now. Highfells is still alive, to be fair, and really, maybe Refuge of the Betrayers would have been relevant here. Maybe it would have been good for JMS Slayer to actually gas that last gas so that Highfells gets that consolation gas. This is a really overtuned spawn, by the way. I really need to tweak it a bit. Good is now signaling to take out Scaffa. Really, Exodus has been rolling with uncontested Scaffa for quite a while now, and Good hasn't really done much to defend it. Rangers of Arphidane taking control of the Abandoned Tower of Kargash. Kargash actually coming out for Arphidane. Yeah, with Evan Dim's out and... wait, but Fornos isn't actually fully upgraded yet, so I am not sure why he's gassing Kargash when Fornos is the thing. Really, maybe Malvagil, or not Malvagil, Mithrandir would be the play for Arphidane here, but instead, Lacy does opt to buy Kargash. It is good mass, but I don't really think he would be able to defend it with 2, basically, not full strength, but very powerful Evil still left on Evil, and Aymar is still not insignificant. Highfell's being pushed from the bottom by Sean. Sean's actually not using Austere, although I don't think that's because he's not using Austere, but rather that he is healing Austere. The catapults here doing a lot of work on Sean's mass. He has to be a bit careful here. Core Hill actually does go down while Exodus is recalling in. It looks like JMS Slayer was run down before Exodus could really defend. But now Eric, with only 1,000 HP left, is going to go down this push. No way that it doesn't. Meanwhile, Exodus goes in for Dwarven Fortified Helen, but Explosive just doesn't have the strength to deal with this. Even if he did have Urnir, Exodus is a bit too powerful right now, and there's also just the mental difference of having to face Exodus. People do tend to play a lot more meekly when they have to face Exodus. Smog being targeted, really Explosive doing as much as he can to deal with this. Really, I don't think Explosive is that much weaker than Exodus, but he's just a bit too meek, a bit scared of engaging him, it seems. Sean is trying to solo push Scaffa, but this isn't really that effective with no real mass cover and no allies to support him. But Exodus also isn't really here to defend it. Exodus actually goes for the spoilers instead of Troll Primacy. I don't think we're gonna actually see a high peaks, or Twin Peaks, I should say. in this game, which is kind of odd because Twin Peaks would definitively be a good choice here, preserving all of that gas from the Gundabad main. Instead, though, Exodus is just funding JMS Slayer for everything. And Gundabad might be going down very soon here. Toby is very persistent with his rotates over. I think Kamul might be going down here if he's not careful, but Toby actually recalls out, doesn't want to take the risk in diving Kamul, especially with only really Galadriel able to take pot shots at him. A simple focus fire by Evil onto Kamul, or not Kamul, Galadriel would have ended her life, so Toby decides to play it safe, recalls out, probably the right move. I don't think Kamul would have gone down in that engagement. Sean floating his ARB over into this area, and again, Exodus doesn't actually have his Arbor in the area. There's only really Terrier who can respond to this. So John might be able to actually take out the spawn this push, although he is delaying a little bit by taking out this SCV kind of unnecessarily. And now going in for the Scaffa kill. Problem is for Sean that he doesn't actually have Catapult, only stun, so this makes it a lot less powerful than it otherwise could be. X is now running over to try and defend, but he's actually forced to keep his ARB at Gundabad. This is what I was talking about with hype Twin Peaks. I really think Twin Peaks would be the play here. That way, Exodus could just not care about Gundabad and then collapse rocks to just maintain his main gas. There's also a ton of Goblin Town mass from Exodus here as well. He also upgraded High Pass, so we're going to see the Elite on High Pass. And Sean, not paying attention to the East, loses his Arbiter, and that spells the end of any further Scaffa rotates, unless maybe Toby comes in to finish it off. Highfell's being continuously attacked. Really, this spawn takes so many resources to actually push down. These catapults deal quite a lot of damage. That's very persistent. And Amar camping, so even though Amar kind of lost the Arphidane matchup, the Miters managed to die before fully clearing out Evil Men, and Exodus, just being Exodus, deals a lot of damage persistently with good just too scared to engage him, despite, in my opinion, not really doing too much stuff in the early game. Now Exodus is just the main powerhouse of Evil, and the good is just too scared to really engage him. And yeah, Exodus only on 5 heroes. He's not even that scary hero-wise. It's just that he has a huge mass differential, and he has been pretty uncontested the whole game. Except for really Gundabad that hasn't even gone down yet and has 0 gas. Then Hero is being slowly cleared out by Explosive, but again, this is also kind of an overtuned spawn. The cannons on this are kind of nutty. Mount Gundabad being pushed by Toby. Gotta be careful with Morgamir there. And Arvaleg did go down in that engagement. All of this mass is very easy to underestimate. And Exodus going for the bait and switch. Looks like he's just diving all of his mass onto the Chieftain of the Lost Hop, but really he was trying to get all that mass underneath the Arbiter, which gets instantly deleted without any heroes there, because all of these archers, all of these crossbowmen, they are actually buffed by Vile Servitude, so they are not really that negligible. 17 damage times a couple hundred? Not couple hundred, like 800. That's a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Adderhill almost goes down there to just so many Snow Trolls and JMS Slayer's ranged attackers. Lord Pen of Galen is being focused, and Lamedon does go down for JMS Slayer now. Toby is now pushing Scaffa, but Exodus this time around is here to defend it, and he will be able to chase away Toby in this engagement. Meanwhile, Sean is finally going for Ended Wife. This is a very slow clear time for Evil Men. Really, Evil Men kind of untouched even. Losing, I think, 4 gas here and 1 gas in Darbad is all that Evil Men lost this game. Ended Wife might be going down soon, though. Mirkwood does get bought by Exodus. Really, I think that would have been more effective on Terrier, considering that he has very little stuff to gas anymore. He did forget about Ace Arena, it does seem, though. Yeah, I think going for Twin Peaks on Ugulai instead and giving Mirkwood for Terrier might be the better play. Exodus goes in for a 2-for-1 trade on Thranduil and Durin for Smog the Golden. That's a very good trade for Exodus to take. Now, Toby's carry potential is basically neutered. He has only Galadriel and Glorfindel left. Really, the only strong faction on good left, I would say, is probably Arthedain, although Explosive still has 3 heroes, which is not negligible. Trails of the Elders did get bought for JMS Slayers, so the Chieftain of Dunland is a bit more powerful. Sean's are being chased away by JMS Slayer, and he did also buy the Dunman Rally, by the way. Then comes out for Toby, but his range is quite low, so this might be a bit difficult for Toby to really turn around, even with a 3rd hero now on his hero ball. Terrior, one pushing Lon Dire, so despite being down to only Amar, he is still actually having a pretty significant impact on the game, and he is back in time to defend Amar Plains. Lazy might be diving the spawn here, and yeah, he is going in for the dive. Morgamir exposed, quite exposed, does get shielded and taken out. Terrior should have really run Morgamir back a little bit there. A bit of a misplay, to be sure. But at the very least, he does chase away the push on the Amar spawn. Explosive complains that Exodus plays really boring and safe as Misty Mountains. Maybe true, maybe not. I mean, Exodus did not really go for many aggressive plays in the early game, but as we can see here, that also means he was basically untouched for the mid to late game. Against a more aggressive good, maybe Evil would be a bit more behind at this point. But in this case, Exodus has so much carry potential with the Goblin Talon gas. And to be clear, the reason Exodus probably didn't go for as many aggressive plays in the early game is really because, you know, Goblin Talon Scaffa gas. And to be fair, he also did go for Orphank, so it's not that Exodus didn't do anything or like anything aggressive. It's just that he maybe didn't go for quite as much. For example, he didn't really go for E-Halls very quickly, for example. Moria does get bought by Exodus once more, and with Mithril crafting up, it is a guaranteed Balrog. Explosive finishes off the Dunharrow spawn, but that was quite a slow clear, all things considered. Terrior in the north still holding on with Amar alone. He's really been able to sandbag Lazy Turtle for quite a while here. Meanwhile, Elosirium being gassed for Sean. Sean, despite being down kind of a few spawns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count Ascended Heal, 5 spawns, he still has a pretty healthy base of spawns left in him. But he hasn't really been clearing as fast as maybe he ought to have been clearing. Sean going in further for maybe the Drew IPO were clear, but JMS Slayer is here to defend it, and with these chokes, it is going to be quite a difficult push for Sean to take. Toby begging Exodus just let him take out Gundabad, but it is not going to happen. Exodus being very persistent in defending the spawn despite having 0 upgrades. And yeah, JMS Slayer does point out that maybe Twin Peaks would be nice, but Exodus already committed to the spoiler, so that's not going to be happening. Viewer is going to go down now that 2 good hero balls have come to attack it. John actually pulls out though, leaving just Explosive to deal with JMS Slayer, which he is unable to do. So what could have been a finish of the spawn just by recalling out Ausir alone turns into another delay by JMS Slayer. High Fells did get taken out though, so JMS Slayer is finally about to die spawn-wise in this game, with really only Cold Fells left, with Drive Viewer basically already dead, very soon to die at the very least. Exodus flames Toby a little bit, pointing out that although Toby is complaining that he's being very annoying by defending the spawn, Toby has also been doing the exact same thing for half an hour and allowing Exodus to just read him every single time. Bro, 3-man, 40 minutes, so sad. Yeah, Toby has really spent quite a lot of time trying to dive Gundabad and it has never worked out for him. That could have been time finishing off Evilman faster, or maybe clearing out Goblin Town. That was instead spent on a Gundabad. Reviewer still not going down. JMS Slayer just kind of camping the spawn in this area. Meanwhile, ooh, is that the Corsair Horn? Yes, it is. Lon Dyer, Left Nui, and Ed Helland all coming out. Explosive is going to finish off this Galley of Umbar pretty fast, though. But it's a 5,250 mineral Argymil Cod, which is not bad for JMS Slayer at all. As we can see, though, this galley will just die immediately. JMS Slayer now pushing the Minhiriath on Sean's ball. Meanwhile, Lazy Turtle is being pushed by Terrior. Despite being on only 2 heroes, Terrior is still basically neck and neck with Lazy Turtle, especially with Arvaleg down for the count. Gladriel gets focused by Terrior as well. Toby really can't catch a break here. He hasn't really been doing a lot of progress in the last 20 or so minutes of the game. Lots of just Gunda pushes that haven't really been going well for him. And now a bit of a lull in the fighting. Exodus running in to just prep for another push on Arfidane. Arfidane and Cardolan are the only 2 remaining factions on good, and really they can't carry this anymore with so few resources to work with. Terrier actually recalling in. Also, just Aimbar, despite being on 2 spawns and 2 heroes, having a pretty significant impact on this game, relatively speaking, compared to your power level, still able to recall over, do rotates, and catch spawns for free from an off-guard good. Sean is going to try and defend this, but I think Minhiriath might be going down if Aimar's lucky. No, not quite. Left to 1,000 HP. Maybe that push was not really coordinated very well with the MS Slayer. Lazy Turtle tries to dive in, does actually take out the Balrog at the cost of his entire ball. That was quite an odd fight to take, but again, I think the game's over. Toby, maybe he shouldn't be saying much at this point. Coldfell's left with 500 HP left, and now that the game is basically over, I'm going to be speeding it up a little bit. And let's watch as we watch Good's final death throws. Or is that how you say it? How do you say it? It's like death throws? Not quite sure. Throws. That's what it is. Death throws. Wild Plains did get bought by Sean. It's going to be immediately cured out partially by Terrior. The Eastern Cannons have all gone down just now. Meanwhile, JMS Slayer in this area taking out Minhiriath. Minhiriath did actually get repaired, but JMS Slayer has a lot more concentrated power than Aimar, but actually loses kind of the Wing Riders in that dive. Maybe Evil really ought to have just gone for the safer plays of taking out the cannons first before diving the spawn. Lossoff is going to go down there. Glowing Bull actually goes down. So at the end stages of this game, John getting a lot more kills than maybe one would expect. But at this stage, I don't think that's going to matter with a fully dead Arfidane. JMS Slayer going in for a pretty greedy rotate onto Aaron Bourne. Recalls out in time before Sean comes in to finish him off. Meanwhile, the wild plane is basically down for the count at this point. Toby going in for another dive on Mount Gundabad, and this time he's actually going to finally get it. And if he's lucky, he can't actually grab Gundabad because he does not have the money for it. 9 can actually buy the spawn, but he was about $1,800 too short. Moria does get cleared out by Explosive, but again, too little, too late. Toby is sitting around here now. Let's see what he ends up doing. Not much as it seems. Hills of Evendim going down as well. RotWK comes out for Lazy Turtle. And what else? What else? Terrier goes in for a double on Minhiriath with GMS Slayer. Finally gets the spawn after 2 dives onto it and a lost hero. And despite Sean putting up quite a large fight, it's not going to be enough to really slow down the advance of evil. Artigor comes out for GMS Slayer. Level 1 at this stage of the game means he is quite squishy, relatively speaking. He has to be a bit careful with Artigor. Meanwhile, Toby is in the area to chase off these evil heroes. Londire is not going down. Explosive tried to go for the spawn, but GMS Slayer has an Arb there stashed to defend it. Minhiriath is going to die immediately, but Artigor already came out, which is all that evil needed. Tom Bombadil comes out as well. Toby's are going to be chased down again by Exodus. He should have recalled earlier, but it looks like he is still going to get it away safely because of this little ramp here, preventing Uvatha from further chasing. Master of Erenborn does die in that engagement to just all of this concentrated dragon mass. Scaffa still not down after all this time. Sean is going to try for it, but with the Master dead, I don't know if he actually has the DPS to take out the spawn. Minaglar and Austere only. At the very least, Sean's only saving grace is that Scaffa is mostly stripped. But Exodus also sees the Arbiter, goes in for Minaglar and almost gets him, but not quite. Grey Goblin ends up chasing Minaglar down. And that's that. GG is called, and good taps out. What we kind of saw there was a kind of outmatched Amar that was still able to defend very well, preventing Arthedain from fully pushing him down, even with Elven support, and continuing to have some level of rotational impact even into the late game. Terrier played very well considering the resources he had, and although his engagements direct engagements against the good heroes were not the best for him, he was still able to play pretty well strategically speaking. Meanwhile, although Good started off very, very strong with good tempo, in the end they weren't able to clear out Evilman very quickly, and Toby started to devote a lot of effort into taking out a zero gas Gundabad, which did not really pay off even once he finally got it. And yeah, pretty interesting game all things considered. Nothing super major, although Exodus did manage to pull off a fully uncontested Goblin Town high pass Scaffa build, which was quite interesting. Also spotted here, if you can see that. I don't think you can see that under the Drakes, but this is the elite from high pass. It's the Goblin Rabble Rouser. Not exactly the best in terms of stats, but it does get a decent passive. Really, I've just tried to design it around the theme of spam. And yeah, that was this game. Thank you, Exodus, for sending this in. And this was Mr. Larryman signing out. Oh crap, I missed it.